morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday to you. Happy faith-based Friday. Before we get started, as usual, let me just check on all the platforms. Make sure we're going. Ugh. Make sure LinkedIn, we're good. LinkedIn, we're good. What's going on, LinkedIn? Let me just share this out real quick. I'll repost it. All right, we're good on LinkedIn. We're good on LinkedIn. Let me go to Facebook. Meet me on the Facebook. Oh, yes, we're good. Facebook. We're good. Check 1 2 1 2. On LinkedIn, let me go to Facebook. We're good. 1 2 1 2 1 2. And YouTube. YouTube. Let's see. Good on YouTube. Hold on 1 second. Bum, 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 bum. One, two, you know what to do. Hail to the KRS, hail to the.
Now to the class action lawsuit against Walmart.
Leaders and best. Champions of the West. Go. All right, folks. Here we go. Back again. Happy Friday to you folks out there. Happy faith-based Friday to you folks out there. First of all, let me introduce myself to any newcomers to my world. My name is Aswan Crookshank. I'm your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 5-time published author and educator. What I do, what I created, what we're all about over here in the Move Swiftly world is taking the lessons from teamwork from the football field and aligning those lessons more in particular, those lessons on innovative teamwork, aligning those lessons with the business world and to serve business owners of 20 or more employees. More so 20 or more employees, not to say I won't serve business owners of other length, size employees, whatever it is. But ultimately what we are about, what we try to do, what we not try to do, but we definitely do, what we've created, what I have proven to do is help business owners develop a staff that moves very much like a championship high school or youth football team. That's what we're about here in a nutshell. And what we do over here every day, I mean, not every day, but every Friday is something we call Faith-Based Friday, where as a regular church goer, a group leader in my life church, at the church I go to, the name of the church is Life Church. I'm a group leader at this church. I've been a group leader for quite a few months now. What I decided to do about 2 weeks ago was to take the message that I get every single Sunday from Pastor Craig Rochelle and, go over it a little bit, align it with or reinforce it on a Friday morning, seeing that, in my opinion, it's probably a better time to have the message come back to anybody that really is looking to develop a walk of faith, regardless of what religion you are. You want to develop a walk of faith and you want to start doing things the God's way. And I don't want to say the right or wrong, but doing things God's way and start making it so you're living your life in accordance to what God has set up for you. All right. So before we get into that, before I pull up some of the sermon, some of the things that Pastor Groeschel talked about. And by the way, for these faith-based Fridays, I will usually try to keep them within about 30 to 35 minutes. Normally, if you guys keep up with my work, once I get started on a certain topic, I do have the ability to speak for a couple hours. But with these, I want to make sure I am, attaching. I want to make sure I'm at least summarizing the message as effectively as possible, so you guys are able to move forward with on your Friday and do things that, again, is according to God. God's word. Not here to judge you. Trust me, I'm the last person to judge anybody. But I am here to tell you, whatever way you feel best towards getting to know God, just get to know God, because there's so much that He has planned for your life. There's so many things. I mean, just this morning, I'm going to share this just because it's on my heart to share now. But just this morning, I was speaking a little bit about the plane crash that took place in DC and Reagan Airport, and some of the just understanding that life isn't guaranteed. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. Your time is not unlimited. And when you see situations like that, you grieve, and incredibly sincere condolences, I should say. And you look around and you say, hey, what does life really mean? What am I really doing every single day? How am I really living my life? Am I making sure I'm doing things that are going to be around? Am I making sure I'm doing or living my life in a way that makes it so I'll be able to look back on, or I'll be able to pass something along to the future generations in which they could pick up on, and things of that nature. So, that's kind of where the spirit of these faith-based Fridays have come from. So before I get too deep into the weeds here, let me just get through a couple announcements here. First things first, speaking of Life Church, like I mentioned earlier, I am a group leader there. Teach boxing lessons every 2 weeks. If you're interested in that, make sure you hit that QR code right there on the screen, and information will be passed along to you at your whenever you do that. Next thing, business owners, like I mentioned, my business is all about serving business owners in a way in which you're helping your teams grow, you're helping your teams build innovation, helping your teams work together in an innovative manner. I've created a free guide, 10 very easy to understand steps for you to, utilize right now in your business to make it so people are working together in a more efficient manner. And make sure you tap into the Patreon link, patreon.com/as144, in which we will be, we will have an exclusive group of people working together to make sure everyone is staying on point with how they're building out their teams, and how they're bringing their business to public consumption. All right. So all that being said, Faith-Based Friday. Let me put the banner up real quick. Here's why I like Pastor Craig Rochelle. All right. One of the things that here is as a frequent churchgoer, and as a person that is speaking regularly, that talks regularly, that does a lot of public speaking, and has developed basically being a regular when it comes to the thought leadership and public speaking world. There's always something you could be learning. Always something you could be learning from folks who have done it for years. Always something you could be learning. Understand that there's so few people out there that are willing to speak publicly, that the ones who decide that this is what they're going to do, this is how they're going to make their livelihood, like I have. It's always something that you can be learning. And Pastor Greg Rochelle, every single Sunday he does this for me. He has an incredible intro to the topic in which he's going to discuss. Now, one of the things, the big takeaway from this message this past week was how he discussed the difference in what's going on when you have gone from a relational relationship with God to a transactional relationship with God, meaning, hey, God, I do this, I live my life in a certain way, you bless me with this transaction thing, like it's a contract and stuff like that. So he opened up the sermon by talking about a vending machine and how he worked as a kid, which again, as a pastor, I think he just does an incredible job of doing that and bringing the message, using a great story from his childhood to bring a message. It doesn't even have to be a child, just something that he lived through, bringing that message, and then he gets into a sermon. So I'm going to play the beginning, and then we're going to get into some of the questions that come up when you really ask yourself. What we're going to do is we're going to ask ourselves, are we living our life in a way in which it's transactional between us and God, or are we doing it in a way in which it's relational Very, very tough questions, which again, if you're new here, just know I'm not sitting here talking at you. I'm talking with you. All right. I'm talking to you because I want to hold myself accountable. Same way Pastor Craig Rochelle holds himself accountable with certain things. When you make mistakes or you struggle with certain elements, hey, it's important to call yourself out on certain things. So I'm going to be answering the questions too, and I'll put it out there so we can get into it. So let me just show you the beginning of let me show you the beginning and how he opened up his sermon, and then we'll go on from there and get to the questions.
When I was a kid, I absolutely, for some odd reason, loved vending machines. Anybody else weird like me as a kid? I love vending machines. There's something about walking up to a vending machine when you had 35 cents in your pocket, because back in the day, 35 cents would get you a long way. And I would stare at the vending machine, looking at all of my options, strategizing which would be the wisest choice to get the optimal enjoyment. And once I had my selection, I'd take a quarter and a dime or whatever it is, I'd put it in the little slot, and then I would press the button. And how many of you know about the metal spiral? Anybody know about the metal spiral? The little metal spiral would start to spin.
I remember those.
And it would push whatever it is, the bag of chips, the ding dong, whatever it is, start pushing it forward, and ultimately it would drop within my grasp. I loved vending machines. Just to drop a few brands, and for the record, this is not a paid announcement. I'm not making any money off these promotions, but back in the day, we didn't drink Coke or Pepsi. It was Orange Crush and Mellow Yellow. Anybody know what I'm talking about? On the candy machines, it was Blow Pops, Jolly Ranchers, or Hubba Bubba Bubble Gum, for the glory of God. If you feel the Spirit of God in this place, you can say amen. Okay. And then with snacks back in the day, it was Zingers, Little Debbie Honey Buns, or Chili Cheese Fritos. It was good back in the day. I loved the vending machines until, did this ever happen to you? You put your money in, you push the button, the spinner would start to spin, it would push your prize forward, and then it would get stuck at the end. Who knows what I'm talking about? That's the worst thing ever. What was it? It took your money. You're ripped off, you're gypped off, you're cheated. And so what would you do? You shake it.
You shake the machine.
You might bang on it. You ask for your money back because you got ripped off. And the problem is, many of us treat God like a vending machine, don't we? We put in not our 35 cents, but we put in our good behavior and our church attendance. Mm-hmm. And our Bible reading, and our tithes. And then we press the prayer button, and we expect God to give us exactly what we ordered. Because after all, we're serving God, so our loved ones should be healed. And we go to church at least 3 weekends a month, so we should pass the test, whether we study or not. And we have a streak in the YouVersion Bible app, 11 days in a row. So we should get the job, even though we may not be the most prepared for the job. But we have to understand that God isn't a vending machine. And our faith isn't a contract. And we may not recognize it or not, but I would suggest that a lot of us, without knowing it, we believe in what I call a cause and effect faith. We tend to think that, hey, if I do my part, then God has to do his part. And without knowing it, that turns our faith in God into a transaction with God. And if God doesn't do what we want him to do or give us what we want him to give us or answer our prayer in the way that we want, we often feel frustrated. We might feel hurt and maybe even betrayed by God. And so what I want to do today is I want to expose one of the most dangerous lies that keeps so many of us from real faith. Because unfortunately, we fall victim to a false faith that I call transactional faith. What is transactional faith?
All right, so let me pause. Let me pause right there because I want to make sure I dissect that a little bit more. Understanding that in order for you to avoid the transactional faith, you have to unlearn what the world naturally rewards us for. All right. What the world naturally tells us to do, how the world naturally gives us our acceptance. All right. From the moment you walked into your school and you studied, you did this, and ultimately you got validated with an A or a B, or, sometimes a C. If it was a hard test, you were happy with the C. If you're like me in high school, sometimes you were happy with the C, right? We were trained to, if I put my work in, if I do X, I'm going to get this in return, and I'm ultimately going to be validated for my work and validated for the things I do. And that is not the direction that you need to be moving, or not the direction when it comes to developing your walk of faith with God. All right. It is not about, hey, like he said, I put in my time in the Bible. I did my prayers. I'm living a life of I'm not, going out partying, clubbing, and, running the streets or whatever. So I deserve this thing that I see with my own eyes. I deserve that because I did this. That becomes very transactional. And this is the challenge. And again, this is something I've lived through personally. The challenge is figuring out how to continue your walk of faith and continuing to do the right things, live in your life again in accordance to God without expecting anything in return. All right. Without expecting anything immediate in return. Like he's going to give me this thing. He's not a grocery clerk where you get paid. Get paid every Friday, whatever it is. And you go into the grocery store, you pay for your food and you get the food back. It's not like that. It is not like that at all. That's what he's saying. That's why he started off the sermon with the vending machine concept, because it can feel like that in many ways. It can feel like that where you're praying so hard for a certain thing. You're praying so hard for whatever the job is, it's a certain someone to come into your life, for a marriage, for a family, some big major event, something that you have in your head right now that you want God to bless you with, that's going to require a walk of faith. And you think that just because you did all of the right things the same way they have you in the test in school where it's multiple choice, and you guessed right on all these answers the same way they did all the right things, quote unquote, you think it's just going to happen. Wrong. That is not the kind of faith in which we're talking about today. The kind of faith in which we're talking about is a faith in which you believe in something bigger than yourself. All right. You believe in a concept. You believe in an understanding. You believe that you are not someone that has all the answers. Nor will you ever be someone that has all the answers. You believe in the work. All right, folks, this is the kind of faith that it's taking that energy, taking that element of wanting something great to happen in your life. And this is why this part of it is so tricky, is because there's nothing wrong with you wanting to have great things happen in your life. There's nothing wrong with you wanting to be married. There's nothing wrong with you wanting to have a family. There's nothing wrong with you wanting to have a great job and having, a great income and having living an abundant life. There's nothing wrong with these things. All right. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. The issue is you have to make sure that you are falling in love with the process. All right. But when it comes, especially if you're just speaking on this, for example, when it comes to this church specifically, I could easily not go to the church every single Sunday and take in the sermons like I do. I can easily just listen to it online. It's all over the internet, and it could be something in which I never actually have to physically go. However, I love going there I love making the time to be there every Sunday, because it centers me. It centers me, and it sets the tone for what I want my week to be. It makes it so I'm going through the steps. I'm not just, okay, I'm just going to watch it on YouTube. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that. It makes it so I'm going through the steps. I'm going through the process, and the process of just simply going to church every Sunday without being judged. Again, wearing the same stuff I'm wearing now, shirt, t-shirt, shorts, whatever it is, sneakers, not being judged, having been judged, previously in previous churches that I've been at. This for me has been something that has been absolutely incredible because I love the process. You love the process. So the question now becomes, and because it's inevitable, and then he even spoke about this in the sermon, it's inevitable that you will have horrible things happen. Hopefully not too many, but you will have things that happen in your life that are really, really difficult times, really, really tough seasons that you're going to go through. And if you are walking according to faith, there's going to be natural reactions from you because of the way we were trained, because the way you were trained. There's going to be natural reactions from you that make you feel like, hey, God, what's up? What's up, bro? I mean, me speaking for myself personally, I remember being single for like years. At one point I was like single and really struggling because I was 28, 29 years old, and going to this particular church where there was a particular young lady that I was pursuing at the time. But again, thank God it didn't happen with her, right? Literally, thank God it didn't happen with her. But the pastor, as I told you guys a couple of weeks ago, the pastor of this church, that was her father, and me and her father got to become very close during that time. And he had expressed to me, because I was explaining some of the things that I'm explaining to you now, and he was telling me, he goes, "See, Aswin, you're probably looking at God like, what's up, bro? What else you want me to do?" And he was right in that. He wasn't right about everything, but in that instance, he was right. When it comes to even myself, there comes a time where you walk your faith, you do things the right way, you do everything you can, and you still don't get the things you think you want. You think you want. See, that's the difference. All right, you're gonna walk this faith, you're gonna do everything, you're gonna put in your work, and you're not gonna get the things you think you want. It's not that you're not getting the things that you won't deserve. It's not that the things that you deserve, better things, aren't coming down the pipeline, which in my case they were, obviously, because I was able to move on in that situation that I thought I wanted to be a part of. I absolutely did not want to be a part of. Seeing that the church is no longer in business, right? It's you yes, you got to accept that in that moment, that's simply the process, and you doing the thing, sitting back and listening to, you got to fall in love with the process. So how do we know that it's going from a relational thing with God to a transactional relationship with God? I'm going to let him talk a little more, and we're going to scrub through, because he puts up some questions that I want to make sure I address as we head into the weekend, and we think about where we are in terms of our walk of faith.
To believe that God owes us. If I do my part, then God has to do his part. And this is, unfortunately, a very seductive lie that distorts our understanding of faith. And I would suggest that this one lie may cause as many. So, how do we know if we actually have a transactional faith in God? How do we know if we're...
Gotta say that again.
So,
how do we know?
How do we know if we actually have a transactional faith in God?
Mm-hmm.
How do we know if we're putting our expectations on him
and not on us,
and maybe getting disappointed because he doesn't do what we want him to do?
Preach it. Come on now.
Transactional.
Come on, Pastor.
Come
on now.
I'll show you 3 questions.
Yes, sir.
Leave them up there in case you want to get a picture of it to pray about it with your life group or discuss.
All right, let's tackle that first one. Let's tackle that first one first. And I see, like I said, we'll keep this around 30 or 35 minutes. But first one, do I follow God because of what he does for me, or because who he is? Big question, major question on this one. Who he is. And who he is, all right, this goes in, again, it's contradiction, all right? It goes in the opposite direction of the way we are naturally inclined to think. All right, we're naturally inclined to think, okay, this person can do something for me, so I'm going to go follow that person. That celebrity can do something for me. That boss, that potential spouse, that whoever you want to name, whatever you want to replace, that person does this for me, so I'm going to follow that person. No, all right. You see, it goes, there's people who live their lives in that way. That person is doing this for me, so I'm following that person, all right? who he is? Do we follow him because who he is? Who he is someone that is going to love you regardless of anything that goes on. He will always, always love you. It's the consistency and loving you regardless of where you are in life, as long as you are willing, open arms, you're willing to kind of have the walk of faith, willing to be open enough to express yourself. God loves you regardless. That's question number one. Again, something like I said, I expressed before. I was the opposite. And as I've grown up, as I've matured, as I've developed, I've learned that it's about who a person is. And it's even helped me as I pursue the relationships I have now. Is I started more asking the question about who a person is and not what a person can do for me. And the whole thing then changed for me. So let's get to the
first question is this. We're going to ask, do I follow God because of what he does for me or because of who he is? Do I follow him because of what he does? Because I've seen a lot of people, when he doesn't do what they want him to do, they say, God, I'm not following you anymore. Do I follow him for who he is or for what he does? Second question we're going to ask is,
it's funny that I'm thinking now, because the church I was the church I was referring to earlier that I used to go to is no longer in business, but the pastor would always be like, we want to use God as a friend with benefits. So, and that's pretty much what he's saying here. All right, question number 2. Do I still trust God when he doesn't answer my prayers the way I want, or do I feel betrayed? Ooh. Pausing there. I'm pausing there for a second. Because we're all guilty. All of us. I am not here on my moral high ground telling you, oh man, you guys do it and I don't. Listen, we are all guilty of this one right here. Do I trust God when he doesn't answer my prayer the way I want, or do I feel betrayed? We're human beings, and we're all in our own heart. Hey, look, somebody does this, somebody says this about me, I'm going to feel betrayed naturally. We got to slow ourselves down. This is why being a part of a life group, this is why having community, this is why having positive people in your life is so damn important. Because when you get to that place where you start feeling betrayed and that victim mentality starts creeping in, you got to have people around you to say, cut that SHIT out, because it's not about you. It's not about you at all. All right. Trust God when he doesn't answer my prayer the way I want, or I feel betrayed. Listen, there's other people going through all sorts of situations. It's not about how you feel and the feelings you have betrayed. Here's a test of that. And here's one of the things that I'll get on to the next question after I explain this, because there was an individual, maybe about 5 or 6 years now back. This is back when I was living in Plantation and I was a trainer at the gym named 9 Round. There was a trainer that, I naturally became fairly close with because we worked together for so long. And the thing that he would always say, and one of the things, again, we had a falling out. I no longer speak to him. He was one of those dudes that I don't feel I don't even like bringing him up on something called a faith-based Friday. But one of the things that would aggravate me and would kind of tell me indirectly that he was only going to be in my life for a season was the way he would talk to the members. All right. He would talk to the members. Every other word, every other sentence out of his mouth would be like, I feel like this. I feel like that. I feel like that. And then he'd get into how he feels. I'm talking about literally, I'm not exaggerating. It was either every other sentence or every sentence would start, whenever just having conversation with him, every single sentence would start with, I feel like this. I feel like this. I feel like this. And this was consistent. This is consistent. Go think about conversations that you've had with other folks, and they're always telling you, oh, I feel like that. I feel like you do this. I feel like you do this. I feel like I wouldn't do this. I feel like I wouldn't. Just constantly about how they feel. Gives a damn. All right. And it's in a part of our natural conversation where you are always telling people how you feel. Don't nobody care about how you feel, right? And I don't say that to be mean, but it's a matter of when you are always leading, especially if you're talking about professional settings and trying to be a person of substance, how you feel doesn't really matter that much. Not to say you can't say it every once in a while. If you're talking to a family, you're talking to a spouse, okay, you can talk to them about how you feel all day. But when you're in a professional setting, you're in a work setting, you're trying to get stuff done, I feel like I this. I feel like you do this. I feel like you do this. All that stuff, it gets absolutely aggravating. And this right here is a great question, because when people call you out on it, they say, yo, again, all this about how you feel and how you feel about this, all that stuff, we got to remove that. Those are the people that you need in your life. The people that you want in your life are the ones that aren't necessarily going to be caring too much about how you feel. All right. They care about you, but how you feel and all that kind of stuff. And the victim mentality, they're going to be able to call you out on your BS and say, hey, that victim mentality that you have, that you're trying to push around me, you need to remove it. You need to eradicate it, and we need to move on. All right. So that one took me a little longer than I anticipated. I didn't plan on bringing up that old trainer, but you guys know how I roll, man. Every day.
Do I still trust God when he doesn't answer my prayer the way I want? Or do I feel betrayed? Do I still worship him and believe in his goodness?
Amen.
When I prayed and fasted and begged him and thought he would and he didn't? Or do I feel hurt and betrayed by God? Third question is this: do I serve God because I love him, or because I'm hoping for something in return?
Boom. All right. Boom. That right there, that third one is huge. All right. That third one is huge. All right. And as I wrap this up, because it lends itself to everything that I spoke about earlier. We are naturally, listen to me very carefully. Hear me. We are naturally being moved and pointed in a direction in which you do this and you get something in return. So whenever you get invited, well, let's say you get invited to church, or you now all of a sudden you feel a calling to go to church, or you are convinced by a certain person to go to whatever it is, whatever the thing it is you're doing, you are naturally going to expect something in return, because that is the way you have been rewarded for your entire life. That is the transaction that has occurred throughout your entire life. That has been the reoccurring theme. That's paying bills. That's paying mortgage. Pay a mortgage. Okay, you actually have a house to live in. You pay a car note. Right, you have something that you can drive around and get around in and all that kind of stuff. It is natural, hoping for something in return. Let that idea go. Let that idea go of getting something in return for your faith. All right. Let that idea go, because if you're hoping for something in return, that's where you will inevitably be disappointed. The only thing that you should expect to happen when you're talking about developing a walk of faith is continuously falling in love with the moment, falling in love with the process, falling in love with the right now, right here. I'm here, I'm present, I'm alive, and just being excited about being in the moment. That's it. That is the only thing, because so many people don't get these moments, man. So many things happen in life. Again, like I brought up earlier, the plane crash. There's so many things that happen in life in which the moment gets taken for granted, because the moment can be taken away just like that. And you never have this moment again. The greatest reward, the greatest gift, the greatest thing that can ever happen for you is the right now. And that's all. And I'll leave it at that. All right. I'll leave it at that. I'll let him cook a little bit, and then we'll officially close out.
We'll leave those up there, and we just read through them again. And you may just kind of think about what your answers would be to these questions. You may want to talk about them in your life group. If you don't have a life group, I would suggest you get a group of people to pray together and strengthen one another spiritually. Do I follow God because of what he does for me, or because of who he is? Do I still trust God when he doesn't answer my prayer the way I want? Or do I feel betrayed? Do I serve God because I love him, or because I'm hoping for something in return? Now.
All right. So that's all I got for you guys today. Again, main website to check out to dive deeper into all my work. It's makeyourmove.com. That's MakeYamove.com. Be sure to tap in with me on the Patreon link that you see right there on the screen. Everyone out there, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.